thank you so much for joining me today. Today we're talking about how to increase your connection with God and make His voice clearer. All right, because we have to realize that most of your thoughts don't belong to you. You have your good thoughts, which tell you to do good things, benevolent acts, good deeds. These come from God and His angels. This is in a literal sense, God's guidance manifesting through your thoughts. And then on the opposite spectrum, we have the negative thoughts. So this is Satan and his demons giving you waswas, which is an Islamic term meaning evil whisperings from Shaytaan. These are the thoughts that are characterized by negative thoughts about other people and negative thoughts about yourself. Now I got to do a quick shout out to Lovin Nadine. One of my subscribers requested this video specifically because he was wondering how to make God's voice louder and how to decrease the waswas. So shout out to you, Lovin Nadine. Thanks a lot for your support. Now, when it comes to your thoughts, you have to think of your brain as a radio transmitter. If you want to hear God's voice louder and clearer, you have to adjust the settings to the correct station, i.e. adjust your vibration. All right, so the higher vibration that you are, i.e. the more righteous you are, the more you pray, the more you do dhikr, fasting, give charity, things of that nature, the closer you are to God's station, per se. The higher your Iman is, your faith, the higher your Taqwah level is, your God consciousness. Now, if you sin a lot, you're more on the 88.8 FM station side of things, right? You're on the left side of things, of the station, of the tuner. So then this increases the demonic voices much louder. So that's why you notice, guys, that with righteous people, they're always happy. They're always relaxed. You never see them stressed out about anything. This is because they're close with God. Their taqwa and Iman is at such a high level that they're in constant connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with God. And when you're at that level, nothing stresses you out. Literally, the world could be ending. And you're good. So you know where you're going. Jannah, of course. Now this is true at the other end, right? People that are negative all the time, their tuner, their taqwa, is so low, it's some of them non-existent, to the point where all their thoughts are demonic or negative, right? So they're going to be thinking negative thoughts about random people all the time. This person's a jerk. That girl's mean. This person's whatever. They're going to be thinking negative thoughts about themselves. I'm not enough. I'm not whatever. I don't want to curse myself, so I'm not going to give examples, but you guys know what I'm talking about, right? So this has everything to do with taqwa, with Iman. The Quran multiple times tells you about these whispers from Shaytaan, from the waswas, and is giving you invocations on God protecting you from these whispers. Guys, it all just depends on your connection with God. So you might be asking, Carlos, how do I raise the voice, my connection with God? How do I make this voice more prominent as opposed to the disobedient voice, the negative thoughts? So the way I like to describe this, guys, taqwa is like, think of your connection with God as a beam of light that is constantly shining down on you from the higher dimensions, right? So people who have no taqwa, they have no light. They're literally walking in the darkness, right? So no good thoughts ever come in, no blessings ever come through. They always have some sort of crisis going on, bad luck, all sorts of things, right? Now, when you have taqwa, especially a lot of it, if you could see in the spiritual realm, it'll look like a person has a huge beam of white light coming from the heavens, just glowing on them, shining on them, and you can actually feel it, guys. When someone is a man or woman of God, they're literally glowing, okay? This is literally God's connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shining down His light on this person. And what happens with this light? This light brings forth blessings. It attracts money. People like you. Women want to be with you if you're a man. Men want to be with you if you're a woman, right? It's all interconnected, guys. It also protects you from evil. So it protects you from car accidents, protects you from sicknesses, right? Because it's all spiritual, guys. This is all spiritual, the reality that we live in. God is all powerful. Everything is in His hands, right? So anyways, yes, the brighter and stronger this light that's shining on you, the louder and louder God's voice gets, to the point where Satan's whispers, you can't even hear them. Like, you're always going to hear his whispers, of course, because his life is a test. But the closer you are with God, you're barely going to notice them. Like, I'll give you an example with me, guys. Like, back when I was secular and I didn't really have a relationship with God, I would have these negative thoughts about, like, random dudes, for example, at the gym or just walking down the street, and be like, look at this guy. He thinks he's, like, big and bad. He looks like a jerk, right? And then immediately following after that, like, I always sensed like something was off. It's like, why am I having these thoughts? You know, low-key, I already knew back then. I had an idea that these weren't my thoughts. But I didn't know anything about Islam, right? I didn't know anything about these teachings, this knowledge. So I just kind of like went with it. And that's the problem with the vast majority of people, guys. That's what causes discords amongst different races, amongst genders, amongst different classes of people, Christians, Muslims, Jews, is this waswas. It's these thoughts that cause us to divide each other and separate us, as opposed to unite us, because we're all a part of God's big, beautiful family. Guys, we're all God's creation, and every single person on earth, yourself, your family members, your friends, every single person that you know, even the people that you don't like, their life is super sacred, right? Because God created them. You know, in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that if you save the life of one person, it's like saving all of humanity. So it's we got to try our best to view the best in everybody, even if everyone's not acting the best. All right, that's a major key. That's a major test in this life. Anyways, I digress. So when it comes down to taqwa, guys, there's 3 different levels of taqwa. There's the first level, which is basic, common people level. This is like 90% of Muslims have this level of taqwa. This is where literally all you got to do is only believe in one God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not commit major shirk, and have a basic level of Iman. You have to believe in Allah, in the one creator God. All right, so that's most people. And then there's intermediate level, which is like 10 to 20% of the population, of the Muslim population. So these are people that actively try to be obedient. They try their best to be righteous. They pray all 5 prayers a day. Like they're on point, right? But at the same time, you know, they're probably working full-time jobs. They got a family. They send every once in a while. It is what it is. We're all human, right? So this is another 10 to 20%. Now, top 1%. This is the ascetics. This is the mystics. These are the people that go on top of mountains or the caves, like Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They go inside the caves for like weeks, months at a time, and just hang out there with God by themselves, right? They'll be fasting a lot and just meditate on the Quran. Do all their prayers, do all the nawafil prayers, all that stuff. So this is top 1%. These people have an astounding amount of taqwa. Like them and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are like BFFs. They're known as the walis of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're the close friends of Allah. So, and they can do things that normal people can't do. Now, I'm gonna make a separate video about this. I don't want to talk about this right now because I'm gonna get off topic, but they're the things that these people can do are astounding, right? Through the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they can do amazing things. So yes, that's the 3 levels of taqwa. Now, obviously you should always strive to do your best, but to get to like mystic level, you basically have to get rid of all possessions on earth. You have to leave your earthly life and just live out in the wilderness, right? And that's not really achievable for most of us. If you can do it, that's amazing. But anyways, now, what are some things that you have to avoid in order to control the waswas or get rid of it completely? So, first off, guys, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, lower your gaze, okay? So not only does this mean don't look at haram things, don't look at, corn, don't Look at girls on Instagram. When he says lower your gaze, it doesn't just mean your sight. He means lower your senses, as in don't look at haram, don't listen to haram, don't say haram, don't hang out with haram people, like people that are doing haram things, right? Because you have to remember, guys, whatever comes through your senses, your eyes, your ears, whatever you surround yourself with becomes your state of being. It enters your subconscious and eventually it becomes your reality, right? So this is obviously going to affect your taqwa, your connection with God. So if you're listening to music that's violent or sexual, it's going to go into your subconscious eventually, and it's going to corrupt your soul. It's going to corrupt your connection with God. Instead of thinking about God and having that awareness of Him, you're going to be thinking about whatever rap lyrics talk about. I've been out of the game for a hot minute, so I don't know. But I know it's very negative. You know, or you watch, obviously, a lot of negativity. Like if you watch the news a lot, it's going to put you in a negative sort of feedback loop, because you're going to be just depressed about all the wars that are happening. You're going to be angry about the politicians lying, all that stuff, right? And then the people you surround yourself with. So you got to be really careful about the friends you're hanging out with. Make sure that they're also God-fearing. You know, it gets a little tricky when it's like your coworkers and your family members, but it is what it is. You know, just ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you guidance on how to move in these situations, and you'll be fine. So yeah, that's the best ways to increase your taqwa, is to be righteous, be obedient. Whenever God gives you these good thoughts of guidance, listen to them. Because if you don't listen, you're going to be rebellious. And then the more rebellious you get, the quieter and quieter that voice gets, the louder and louder the devil's voice gets. Right? Fasting also helps. So fasting makes evil flee from you. Shaytaan flees from you when you fast. It makes you among the righteous, as the Quran says. So fasting helps a lot. Like think about yourself. Whenever you're fasting for Ramadan, whenever you're hungry, really thirsty, the last thing you think about doing is sinning. You think about food, right? I'm making a joke, but you guys know what I'm saying. So doing that, being obedient, being grateful, yes, giving to charity, all that stuff. I mentioned this already, but these things will raise your taqwa. Try your best not to sin. Try your best to lower your gaze on all haram things. After doing this, I promise you, you're going to see some really amazing results. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your support. Take care. Peace.